graders. Today we'll be doing a Unit 6 review for genes and inheritance. I am going to visually show you the schedule for this week, but it's going to consist of a review today, your test tomorrow, and then a review Jeopardy for Unit 6 as well on Thursday. So you do have the opportunity to play the Kahoot for 5 points added to your test score. So that can be today or tomorrow, and then I will go in and add that to your test. The links here are for that Bill Nye the Science Guy video we started but never finished, in case anyone would like to watch it. As always, I am recording, and you know our classroom expectations. So please be sure that today you come to class ready to be responsible, engaged in your learning, aim for success, and respect all. This is the visual to help you out with what's going on in science this week. We are doing the review PowerPoint right now for 6-8, which is review. Tomorrow is 6-9 in the OLMS, which is the unit test. I am going to let you guys complete the test, both parts 1 and 2, in groups in class. So if you feel like doing it today, you will be able to help out your group still tomorrow, or if you want to wait and do it entirely in groups, I'm giving you guys that opportunity. Thursday, our last day of full regular class this week, we will be doing a Unit 6 Jeopardy. The objectives for Unit 6 were to describe DNA sequence and genetic inheritance. Much of this was asynchronous due to state testing, but I was able to hop in and do 1 to 2 days of explaining DNA sequencing and inheritance. So one of the major takeaways from this unit was DNA pairs and how those are made and how they work. So DNA is a double helix structure, meaning it has 2 strands that you can see there in red in that 2D image. In the 3D image, you know that the double helix structure is also twisted. So it's not exactly straight the way a normal ladder is. It's kind of more like a ladder out of Willy Wonka. Now within those DNA strands, there are bases. Now each base has a specific partner that it will match up with. So those 4 bases for DNA are adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. C will always be with G, and A will always be with T. And then later on, you will see when the ATU switch happens. Even though this image looks complicated, this is how DNA is replicated. We're going to start with the video, and then we will continue on.
We are now able to see how DNA is actually copied in living cells. You are looking at an assembly line of amazing miniature biochemical machines that are pulling apart the DNA double helix and cranking out a copy of each strand. The DNA to be copied enters the production line from bottom left. The whirling blue molecular machine is called helicase. It spins the DNA as fast as a jet engine as it unwinds the double helix into 2 strands. One strand is copied continuously and can be seen spooling off to the right. Things are not so simple for the other strand because it must be copied backwards. It is drawn out repeatedly in loops and copied 1 section at a time. The end result is 2 new DNA molecules.
So that original DNA in this image, you can see it on the right. It's that twisted double helix structure, also called the parent DNA. It goes through the, excuse me for pronouncing this one, the topoisomerase. And once it goes through that portion, it splits the DNA, and you can see there on the top avenue, there's the original DNA strand. The strand with one base, and it is being made to match with new proteins. Mutations I did not have a chance to cover whatsoever with you in class, but I did assign you something in the OLMS, and so it's important to understand that mutations are entirely out of the organism's control, whether it's human or animal, and all it is a little blip on the DNA strand. So just one alteration on the DNA strand results in that expression of 4 legs, 3 eyes, whatever it may be. I'll give you a minute here to read through this slide. Here is where you may have gotten confused during our unit on DNA and heredity, and that is with DNA, RNA, and proteins. We're going to again start with the video and then try and launch into understanding these graphics.
When the RNA copy is complete, it snakes out into the outer part of the cell. Then, in a dazzling display of choreography, all the components of a molecular machine lock together around the RNA to form a miniature factory called a ribosome. It translates the genetic information in the RNA into a string of amino acids that will become a protein. Special transfer molecules, the green triangles, bring each amino acid to the ribosome. The amino acids are the small red tips attached to the transfer molecules. There are different transfer molecules for each of the 20 amino acids. Each transfer molecule carries a 3-letter code that is matched with the RNA in the machine. Now we come to the heart of the process. Inside the ribosome, the RNA is pulled through like a tape. The code for each amino acid is read off, 3 letters at a time, and matched to 3 corresponding letters on the transfer molecules. When the right transfer molecule plugs in, the amino acid it carries is added to the growing protein chain. Again, you are watching this in real time. And after a few seconds, the assembled protein starts to emerge from the ribosome. Ribosomes can make any kind of protein. It just depends what genetic message you feed in on the RNA. In this case, the end product is hemoglobin. The cells in our bone marrow churn out 100 trillion molecules of it per second. And as a result, our muscles, brain, and all the vital organs in our body receive the oxygen they need.
Giving you a second to look over this slide. So essentially there's 2 things that happen. So DNA, as we saw over here on this slide, is replicated. Now that process just results in another strand of DNA, not byproducts. However, with transcription, not replication, DNA similarly is still being copied, but it's being copied to make an RNA, which is one strand, one of those nucleotide bases. And from there, it can either do reverse transcription, going back to DNA, or it can do another process with this one strand of DNA called RNA that is translation, which makes proteins within our body. So, that process of transcription and translation, RNA is essentially just acting as a code. It is the answer for our body to know how to make protein. So, DNA is not just important for the expression of certain genes and heredity, what we inherit from our parents, but DNA is the code for all of our life processes. We need DNA to make an RNA, which holds the code to create protein within our body. After those first couple of units on DNA, RNA, and transcription, we got a little bit further into genetics and heredity. Here are some examples of inherited traits. So, we did a lab with this with the aliens. So, things that can be inherited from your parents are eye color, hair texture, skin color, whether or not you have freckles, um, even specific things as the type of chin you have, whether it has a divot, your earlobe attachment, your height. But there are also traits that are not inherited, um, and those have environmental influences. I included a slide here about Punnett squares because a lot of us find eye color inheritance very interesting. So this is essentially what Gregor Mendel was doing with pea plants, but we can do it here with a parent with blue eyes and a parent with brown eyes. So a parent who has blue eyes will be represented with two lowercase b's because blue is recessive. Dominant is represented by a capital letter. So brown being the dominant eye color, it could be two uppercase b's or uppercase b, lowercase b, depending on that brown eyed parent's genetics. In this case, it looks like they have blue as a recessive and they don't have two dominant browns. Then it's kind of like multiplication here. You go square by square. So in that first square, there's a big B, little b. Second square, big B, little b. On the bottom, we have two little b's. And then in the bottom right, we have two little b's again. So a child of this parent combination has a 50% chance of having blue eyes expressed. Examples of environmental factors that affect humans, not just the way we look, but the way we behave, the way we survive, the way we act would be our resources, where we grew up, geography, topography, population wise, our access to technology, etc., culture, social norms and values. All of those things are not inherited, rather learned. I could take a baby that was born in a certain area in a certain culture to a certain type of civilization, and then I could raise them where I am from, and they would have more of those traits from where they were brought up versus where they were just born. The baby would, however, definitely keep on the traits of its parents. That offspring would keep those parental traits. I believe you've taken all your quizzes, so I'm going to skip through this. Obviously, you can pause and screenshot if you do want to just check those out for later for the test. But I think this is old. I could be wrong. But what happens during translation? A polypeptide is made with a specific order of amino acids using an mRNA molecule to provide the sequence information. That's what I said about how RNA is essentially our code for making proteins. What happens during transcription? So again, let me go back to that graphic really quick. Transcription happens before translation. Transcription is between DNA to RNA, and translation is RNA giving that code to create a protein. So now the next question was about transcription. So that's DNA to RNA. A new RNA molecule is made from a DNA strand by pairing bases of RNA nucleotides with the complementary bases in DNA. It's free. Free is good. Genes. I had a video here, but it looks like it is gone now. Genes are a little bit bigger picture than just DNA. DNA is found within a gene and genes are found on chromosomes. Chromosomes are what we inherit, um, 23 from each parent, 46 in total. And a difference in one chromosome is how a mutation can occur. All right, let's do Kahoot. You do have to receive a 20% or higher to get those 5 points added to your test. You may play more than once. I'm going to end this video now so that live Miss Birch can give you what you need for Kahoot. Final announcements for the day is that Unit 6 test is due tomorrow, but you will have class time plus group time to do part 1 and 2. And then also, please do your genes and inheritance lab from last Wednesday that we did in Gizmo with the lab write-up in the student work folders. Not everyone turned that in. Okay, that's all.